Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Krishna
कृष्ण वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय थैंक यू एवरीवन फॉर जॉइनिंग एंड चैंटिंग सो ब्यूटीफुली may I know who all joined this morning?
हरे कृष्ण विनीता गंधर्विका माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय गुरु महाराज की जय प्रीति दासी प्रभुपाद हरे कृष्ण
प्रीति माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mata ji for joining and giving us sweet association every day. Welcome to the call Mata ji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mata ji, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Srila Prabhupada. This is Preeti Vilasini Devi Dasi from Atlanta.
Hare Krishna Preeti Vilasini Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji for joining and giving us sweet association. Welcome to the call Mataji. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Is there anybody who would like to introduce themselves? We see Revati Mataji on the call. We wish Revati Mataji happy birthday to you Mataji.
I think that is...
This is
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare
Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Oh, sorry Mataji, I thought the other Revati Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharajas and all the assembled Vaishnavas. This is Kirtida Sundari Dasi.
Hare Krishna Kirtida Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji for coming on the call. Very grateful to you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. Yashamati from Chicago.
Hare Krishna, Shrimati Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nice to hear your sweet name morning and mid-morning, Mataji. Welcome to the call.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisance. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Sri Guru and Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. Shashidhar joining from Texas.
Hare Krishna, Shashidhar Prabhuji. What a wonderful chanting, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for joining every day and chanting so beautifully. Welcome to the call, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Is there anybody who would like to introduce themselves? I will see if we can start with. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. Before we start the call, as usual, we'll read today's Srila Prabhupada quote. November 18th, there is a competition of loving Krishna, even in the party of Srimati Radharani. This is a kind of rasa to compare in loving affection centering around Krishna. Letter to Brahmananda, November 18, 1967. Hare Krishna. As today is Friday, every Friday we have Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta. Today we have Her Grace Kirtida Mataji to enlighten us on the topic of Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta, chapter 52. Right, Mataji, 51? 51. Chant and fight for Krishna. I forgot the title also, but the title is wonderful. Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji. Thank you for warmly welcoming everybody, and thank you everyone for joining us today. So, yeah, today is the day of Prabhupada Lilamrta, every Friday. So, we'll discuss Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta. So, let's offer our prayers and then we'll continue with our presentation. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarupascha kripa sindhu vaevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalum Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkripaha Tamham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram Hare Krishna. So today it is from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta and this is chapter number 51. I'll just share my screen. I hope you all can see the presentation.
Yes, Mataji.
Perfect. So this is Yeah, chant Hare Krishna and fight. This is chapter number 51, and it is from Prabhupada Lilamrta. So this chapter is a very long chapter, and to condense or to summarize this entire chapter in 1 hour is impossible for a person like me. So I'm really grateful to Her Grace Indulekha Karuna Mataji because she prepared the entire presentation. So we'll be just going through the presentation. So actually the entire class is by her. I'm just a medium, just presented, in front of you. My face will be there. I'll be speaking, but it's all from Indulekha Mataji. She prepared the entire presentation for me. So I'm really grateful to her. So this is, okay, what I'm doing now. Okay, this was the last slide. Okay. Chant Hare Krishna and fight. Chapter number 51. This is our Srila Prabhupada, our dear Prabhupada. Okay, so in the last chapter, chapter number 50, which was also covered by Indulekha Karuna Mataji, so she expressed that how Prabhupada was traveling in West. He was in America, and then he finally decided to go to India, and he landed in Bombay. So he came to India, and he came to Bombay, and this was in 1977. And this was the year when Prabhupada, in the same year, in 1977, on November 14th, Prabhupada, he went back to the spiritual world. He left this material world. So this is the same year that we'll be talking about. That is from January 1977. So this is Bombay. Prabhupada landed in Bombay, and it was in January 1977. So Prabhupada, right now, the Rasbihari temple was under construction. The deities of Bombay, Juhu temple, that is Shri Radha Rasbihari, they have been moved to a shed because the temple was under construction. And Prabhupada started his morning walk. So it was before dawn. The sun has not 100% risen. The first ray of sun has come out, and Prabhupada started his morning walk. So he and the devotees knew very well the Hare Krishna land to the public road, and they began walking down the block leading to the beach. So across the beach, around the beach, Prabhupada started walking. And there the beautiful description has been given, as you can see in the picture also, that Prabhupada wore a gray, it's in the picture, doesn't show about the gray woolen chadar, but Prabhupada wore the saffron silk kurta and dhoti, peach-colored canvas shoes, and the normal, that gray chadar, a woolen chadar that Prabhupada you must have seen in many pictures. So Prabhupada wore that. He used a cane, leaning not heavily but lightly on it, and he walked erectly and held his head high. So this is a symptom of an acharya who's grounded, but at the same time, his ambitions are sky high. And Juhu Beach was one of his favorite places to walk. Along with them, they joined Mr. Patel, Dr. Patel and his friends. So the person you see in this white kurta is actually Dr. Patel. And he said, how everything is nice. And Prabhupada said, commented, gesturing towards the beach before him, see the sky, how clear and how nice by Krishna, Purnamidam. So this is the beauty of Prabhupada, that wherever he see and whatever he sees Krishna, right? Even he's seeing the beauty of the beach or the river or the ocean, but still he was putting Krishna in the center. Again, back to the quote, what Vinita Gandharvika Mataji said, that even if we are into some rasa where some gopis are, against Krishna, they are towards the side of Srimati Radharani, but the point is that they always keep Krishna in the center. Because if they are taking side of Srimati Radharani and they are chastising or saying some ill words to Krishna, still Krishna is in the center because everything is done for his pleasure. Krishna enjoys those pastimes. So that's why gopis are doing. So everything is Krishna. Krishna is in the center of everything. That's what Prabhupada also will say and is also now saying, that how everything is done nicely by Krishna. He's Purnamidam Purnamada. right? So with his cane, then Prabhupada indicated the graceful palm trees. And he said the tree is called Vriksha. He said the Vriksha Yoni, or birth as a tree, is naturally condemned, is not a good yoni, it is not a good birth. But by Krishna's arrangement, these Vrikshas are also so nicely set up, and it's so beautiful. And it's all to give pleasure to Krishna. They all are representatives of Krishna, said Dr. Patel. This is perfect. Purnam, said Prabhupada, quoting Ishopanishad, Purnamidam Purnamada. Just as the rising sun illuminates everything, Srila Prabhupada discoursed, speaking against the atheistic notion that the complex material creation has no creator. God's creation is perfect and complete because it comes from him who is Purnam, who is perfect. And therefore, then Prabhupada quotes, Andantarastha Paramanu Chayantram Stham, that in every atom, the Krishna is present. Krishna is there. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Then Prabhupada elaborates about this verse. Paramanu. Paramanu, he says that even smaller means 6 Paramanus makes 1 atom, 1 Anu. And this is atomic dimension. You combine 6 Paramanus, and in that every Paramanu also, Krishna is there. So therefore, Prabhupada says that something which is designed by Krishna ought to be perfect, and is always perfect because it's coming from that complete person. And he is person. He just defies the Mayavad's philosophy that there is some light or energy. He says, no, Krishna is a person. He's Purnamadam Purnamada, right? And then Dr. Patel said, yeah, he make those atoms and he then enter into that atoms. And Prabhupada said, yes, that is what the Veda says, that he enters into each and every atom. Prabhupada said, that is what Paramatma. Paramatma is there. The whole human life is meant for understanding all this and glorifying the Lord. But people these days, they are simply wasting their time and they are imitating the hog. They are following all those Western philosophy and not understanding, following those atheistic philosophy and not understanding the presence of Krishna in each and every atom. So that way Prabhupada was very hard on it. Then Prabhupada started, because that was a morning walk conversation, it went. And Prabhupada said, there is good and bad in every place. Krishna says, Manushyam Saraseshu, means out of thousands of people, hardly anyone will come to know me. So he says that people are following all these atheistic philosophies. Actually, this is Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, the symptom of Kali Yuga is that people will be diverted from God consciousness. There will be no more Krishna conscious. People will be very lazy, quarrelsome. This is the symptom of Kali Yuga. But we are there, Prabhupada points out that Hare Krishnas are there to point out, to bring out this philosophy and to spread all over the world, far and wide. Then Prabhupada began to talk about the importance of sadhu sangha, that is the association of devotees. And immediately Dr. Patel, he said, instead of doing sadhu sangha, people these days go to Kumbh Mela. He laughed as if he cracked some joke. But Prabhupada said, no, you are correct. Kumbh Mela is actually sadhu sangha. It is not some ordinary thing. Don't consider Kumbh Mela to be an ordinary gathering. It is actually a sadhu sangha. So there is nothing to laugh about. Dr. Patel thought that he is cracking some joke, that people these days are not doing satsanga, rather they are going to Kumbh Mela. But Prabhupada said, actually, Kumbh Mela is for what? Is for sadhu sangha, is satsanga. If you go to Kumbh Mela, you find a man of knowledge, means you find some saint, some sadhu, you associate with him. That is the real meaning of Kumbh Mela. Otherwise, Yat Tirtha Buddhi Salila na karchit sa eva gokhara. If one thinks that, this is just a simple water and I'm just going to take bath in that water, and that is what is Kumbh Mela, then he is gokhara, he is cow, he is ass by mentality. But if he thinks that now there are so many saintly persons are there, so let me take advantage, and that then he is very intelligent, he is Sumedasa. because now he knows the exact purpose of going to a pilgrimage. And we have seen that time and again, Prabhupada in the purport also points out that going to pilgrimage is not just to go and visit places, take bath in some holy waters. That is not the aim of going to any pilgrimage yatra. Real pilgrimage yatra is that you find a good sadhu, you find a genuine sadhu, associate with him, discuss with him, and learn from him, and discuss the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, and get some knowledge from him. That is what is sadhu sangha, and that is what is the fulfillment of going to any pilgrimage yatra. Just going and seeing, visiting places and, just taking bath in some holy water, well, that is not the pilgrimage yatra. Pilgrimage yatra is you connect with some sadhu and do some sadhu sangha. And then Prabhupada, he questioned about the upcoming Kumbh Mela at Allahabad because he desired to go there. The Magh Mela occurred every year, he said, but according to astrological calculations, a more auspicious occasion comes after every 12th year. So this Kumbh Mela comes after every 12th year. And that is what the Kumbh Mela is. So he remembered, he said that in 1977, this Mela is supposed to happen, this Kumbh Mela. And Prabhupada desired that I will go because there will be lots and lots, millions and millions of people will come on the confluence of the holy rivers near Allahabad, where there is a sangam of 3 rivers, Ganga, Yamuna, and Triveni. So Srila Prabhupada said that he would love to go. So Dr. Patel said, so are you planning to go by train? So Srila Prabhupada said, yeah, well, I like the journey of train. Dr. Patel said, but it's not good for your health. And it's a long journey, it's a almost 24 hours journey. How will you go? Don't just drop the idea. And then he simply laughed. He said, well, I'll think, what I normally do, I'll tell my friends and they'll bring some water and I just take and bathe in that water. But Prabhupada said, that's not the motive of going to any Kumbh Mela or just, taking that water. He said, Prabhupada replied that he liked the train, and though they all said that the weather will be extreme, it will be super crowded. And Srila Prabhupada, however, was not swayed. And he said, well, I have been living there. I have a family from 1923 to 1936. I've stayed in Allahabad. I'm well acquainted about the weather of Allahabad and about the crowded nature of Allahabad. So I'm okay with it. And in 1925, Prabhupada said that I went to the Mela. I remember I was touching the water and it was pinching. It was so cold that it was typically cutting one's body. But as soon as you take a dip, 1, 2, and 3, and then immediately you come out and everything is all right. So it's just the beginning. As soon as you enter the water, it feels cold. But once you are in water, it's so wonderful. And, I was remembering this when Prabhupada was quoting that recently when we also went to India, though it was summertime, but we went to Haridwar and the water of Ganga, this Ganga water was super cold. And though it was peak summertime, but the water was very cold because it rained for 2-3 days continuously and the weather had changed drastically. And we all went, and then it was very hard for me to get into the water of Ganga, but because it was very cold water. But as soon as we just entered, take a dip, 1, 2, and 3, just like Prabhupada was mentioning here, everything became so normal. And then we were enjoying being in the waters of Ganga. It was so good. So then one of Prabhupada's servants, his name is Hari Sauri, and he asked, so what is the reason for this Mela, Prabhupada? Is it something that some drops of nectar from Mohini Murti got dropped and that's why how this Kumbh Mela came? Then Prabhupada said, no, actually it is not like that. It's kind of a religious conference. All the different groups gather in that holy place and they propagate their philosophy there. Actually, India is a religion of philosophy. It's a country of religion. They know spiritual life. It's more important than the material life. That is India. So now they are diverting their attention to the material. Otherwise, the whole India was for the spiritual life, and people from different religious conferences would come, they discuss about the spirituality. And that is what is Sadhu Sangha, Prabhupada points out. So Srila Prabhupada, was discussing about this, and he showed his desire, to go to Kumbh Mela. But then, coming back, because right now Prabhupada is in the morning walk, so he took a U-turn. And because it was time for greeting the deities, it was almost 7 o'clock in the morning. And then Prabhupada came back. And Prabhupada, was anxiously anticipating the opening of his Juhu temple. But Surabhi Maharaj, who was the caretaker at that time, he spoke of delays, and opening dates therefore remained indefinite. Delays had been routine ever since Srila Prabhupada had first tried to purchase the Juhu land from Mr. N in 1971, and obstacles had plagued all his attempts to build. So there were a lot of obstacles. Even people have denied the no objection certificate. The government has denied, because they said that you are too loud kirtans. So they were posing one problem after another, one obstacles after another. So therefore, this the building of this temple was delayed. So Prabhupada really want to establish, this Radha Rasvihari. They were there in the shed, but he wants to move them to the real or gorgeous temple, but it was delayed. So Radha Rasvihari was still being worshipped in the temporary shelter the devotees had erected in 1971. But as Prabhupada approached, he could see the magnificent temple structure looming behind that humble shed, proclaiming that soon Radha Rasvihari would have his own palace. So that was just Prabhupada's vision that Prabhupada saw, but ultimately it was a delayed project. So Krishna was blessing the faithful work of Srila Prabhupada and his disciples in Bombay. Although Srila Prabhupada was always traveling, pushing his movement ahead of all fronts, he would regularly return to Bombay because that was his mission and vision. He wanted the temple of Rasbihari, the magnificent temple, to come up in that Bombay area. Then Srila Prabhupada came before the deities, beheld once again during the Darshan Arati, and again the charming beauty that made sometimes indicate that all the deities, they were the dearest to him. Yes, Radha Rasbihari was very, very dear to Srila Prabhupada. He promised to Radha Rasbihari that he would build them a beautiful temple very soon, and very soon it will be a living reality. But he sometimes expressed doubt as to whether he would be alive to see it. So Prabhupada was in fear that he was not sure whether he would be living at that time, but he promised the deities that, the magnificent temple will come. Why Prabhupada was so doubtful? Because he was already 81 and was bothered of certain persistent illness that Prabhupada was facing, because of which he said that, I don't know whether I'll be alive or not, but he promised that, me through my disciples will build you a very magnificent temple. So each month, Prabhupada's GBC men would stay with him serve as secretary and to receive direct training and personal association. So that was their motive, so that they learn something new from Prabhupada. And in January 97, the secretary was Rameshwar Swami. He was from New York. And Prabhupada was generally pleased and enlivened when early in the morning, Rameshwaram Maharaj, he entered his room, having flown straight from Los Angeles. I'm sorry, he was from Los Angeles, not from New York. And Prabhupada considered Rameshwar an expert ISKCON manager, especially in printing and distributing Krishna conscious literature, which was Prabhupada's priority in preaching. We all know that Prabhupada laid so much emphasis on book distribution. And he said that through my books, we'll make the entire world Krishna conscious. So Prabhupada was very happy when he saw Rameshwar Swami coming straight from Los Angeles to Bombay, and because he was very much into book distribution. So Rameshwar Swami inquired as a humble servant before his spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, you look well. Are you feeling well? Then Prabhupada said, I wasn't, but after seeing you, I'm feeling now good because you are here. And within moments, they were discussing about ISKCON preaching and management. And Srila Prabhupada advised Rameshwar Swami that the best policy was to use the money for printing more books. And that's what the motive of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada was, that he gave instructions to Srila Prabhupada that as soon as you get money, print books. And that's what Prabhupada also told to Rameshwar Swami, that as soon as you sell books, print more books with that money, because otherwise you will be taxed heavily and the money will be gone. So as soon as you will be taxed and you will cause headaches, so better immediately spend that money in printing more books. Print books and sell and spend. That was the motive that Srila Prabhupada had. Follow this policy and distribute these books. This is our main preaching. Somehow or other, we must take our books door to door and distribute. Then our preaching is successful. Right? So this is actually the mission of Krishna Chaitanya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also ordered Haridas Thakur and Nityananda that go door to door. Suno, suno Haridasa, suno Nityananda, ghare ghare giya karo, eyo karo bhiksha, prati ghare ghare giyo, kaho ei bhiksha, bolo Krishna, bhajo Krishna, karo Krishna shiksha. So this was the motive of actually the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which was followed by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and down to Srila Prabhupada, where Prabhupada said that go door to door, go and distribute my books. And this is then our preaching will be successful. Then Srila Prabhupada asked about the news of ISKCON activities in the West. And that time Rameshwar Maharaj, he gave the latest news that how Krishna conscious movement in America is very badly attacked. Very badly, it is attacked in the courts against the philosophy of brainwashing. So they're saying, he told Prabhupada that now, that this, we are not known as Hare Krishna cult. We are, but actually we are being renamed as brainwashing cult. An anti-cult movement has now aggressively active and lumping the Hare Krishna movement with new movements. Srila Prabhupada was well aware of these deprogrammers, kidnapping of devotees, and intensively coercing them. He had shown that he has not intimidated by the attack. He is not intimidated. He assured that the devotees of Krishna would protect them and that the outcome would ultimately be in their favor. So Prabhupada was rest assured that, the judgment of the court will be in his favor. But it was a very significant battle that was going on in New York, and Prabhupada was really concerned about it. It took several months, and Adi Keshav Swami was being charged with employing mind control to keep the devotees in the temple. So he was charged. So actually the parents of 2 adult devotees, they have pressed charges and hired deprogrammers. And, that they told that their children have been, brainwashed in this Hare Krishna cult, and they hired some deprogrammers. And Prabhupada was not happy. Prabhupada said that every now and then they are challenging our Hare Krishna movement. They don't understand that when their children do all those nonsense activities, they are hippies, right? So do their parents like when their children do the kind of hippies activities? Why don't they stop them? That is actually brainwashing. Do the parents like when the children go and get involved in so-called prostitution and intoxication? Why don't they stop this? This is actually the brainwashing. People are getting brainwashed, but we are not doing the brainwashed. We are actually giving them the right brain to understand what is good and bad. But Prabhupada continued that we have set on a fire. No matter how many fire brigades, how many deprogrammers they hire, but still, our fire is now a forest fire. It has become wild. You cannot stop it externally and internally. It will go on and on and on. And that's what Prabhupada said, chant Hare Krishna and fight, which is actually the title of this entire chapter. That chant Hare Krishna and fight. So Prabhupada then quotes that how Krishna also wanted Krishna also did the same thing. Krishna, only when he was lying in the lap of Mother Yashoda, when he was 6 days old, he killed Putana. Then he killed so many demons. What to talk about that? Even his devotees, Prahlad Maharaj was not exempted. They were also put into so many troubles. But still, what did they do? They chant Hare Krishna. They were totally absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna, and they were fighting. Not fighting externally like with some weapons, but fight means that they were not silent. They were still, their chanting was getting more and more intense, and that's how they were fighting. And then Prabhupada quotes that what to talk about the devotees, even Nityananda Prabhu himself got injured. Haridas Thakur was beaten in 22 marketplaces. What did they do? Did they stop chanting? No, they were chanting. They were still chanting. Nityananda Prabhu was still preaching. Though Madai hit him and he was bleeding, but still Nityananda Prabhu's preaching was going on and on. Then he talk about Jesus Christ, that even Jesus Christ was crucified. They are so kind that they have not crucified me and my men. So Prabhupada is still being grateful that, they have just lodged a complaint. They have not crucified my men, just like Jesus Christ. So they are getting everyone in America to ask question, what is Hare Krishna? Rameshwaram Swami, he was asking Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, well, that is our gain. The more people asked about Hare Krishna, they are getting benefit. First, they will come to know about Hare Krishna. And secondly, while saying Hare Krishna, they will get some Agyat Sukriti. Because saying Hare Krishna is actually chanting Hare Krishna. So that time, it was not known as ISKCON, it was known as Hare Krishna cult. Right? And recently known as the brainwashing cult. So then Rameshwaram Swami said that we still have to work, very hard to defeat them. And Prabhupada said, yes, of course we have to. Just don't think that you can just simply sleep. You can chant Hare Krishna and Krishna will take care. No, that won't happen. Even to Arjuna, he said, I'm your friend. I'm your God. He didn't say that, oh, Arjuna, now you can sleep here and I'll take care of the entire battle of Kurukshetra. No, he said, you must fight. I have given you the knowledge. Now it's up to you, Arjuna, whether still you want to become a beggar and go in the forest and beg, or you still want to fight. The decision is yours. And he said, if you have the decision, then you should fight. You fight. Remember me. Dedicate that fight towards me. Do it for me. But you have to fight. And that's what Prabhupada says, that Krishna will do everything, but we have to show our endeavor. We have to not give any opportunity to others. And we should always remember Krishna. Whether it's a situation of fight or it's a situation of peace, we should always remember Hare Krishna. We should always chant Krishna's name and we should remember Krishna. Then Prabhupada explained that the greatest shock for the materialists was that the Krishna conscious movement strongly opposed illicit sex, meat eating, and intoxication. So to them, if we give up such things, then it's so hard to live, because people those days, especially in New York, they can't imagine their life without meat eating, illicit sex, and intoxication. Prabhupada said that the more the opposition, the more people will become Krishna conscious. The more we Hare Krishna will become famous. And therefore he said, don't worry. He concluded the meeting with Rameshwar Swami. So Rameshwar Swami will normally, every time he'll discuss. Why? Because he wants to know the loophole. So Rameshwar Swami and Prabhupada will take the side of two sides, two positions. Rameshwar Swami will act as a normal materialist and will pose questions, and Prabhupada will defend in a Krishna conscious way. So this was going on and on, because then for the entire month, Rameshwar Swami was regarded as the secretary of Prabhupada, and he would not let even a single moment go without asking Prabhupada. Whenever he'll get a chance, he'll ask about Srila Prabhupada, like how we can propagate this movement further. So Srila Prabhupada concluded his meeting with Rameshwar by saying that the devotees should be very alert and intelligent, and they should be so intelligent that they should have the capability to defend Krishna conscious movement. But how can they do it? When they read my books. So he says that when Krishna, and there is a higher principle behind this, and he said that when Krishna entered the Yamuna to fight with Kaliya, it was not a good news for Mother Yashoda, neither it was good news for other Vrajvasis, all the friends in the family. Everybody was in a bewildered situation that what will Krishna do? How our little small boy Krishna, our friend Krishna, has jumped into the water of Yamuna. How will he fight? But then he said that, but Krishna was in the center. That is what Vrindavan is, that Krishna is always in the center. They were worried not because that their cows were dead or some cowherd boys were affected of the water of Yamuna, but they were only bothered about Krishna because Krishna was always in the center of Vrindavan, in the heart of Vrajvasis. So therefore Prabhupada said, situation of today is like that only. We are, we are in the waters of Kaliya. We are in the waters of Yamuna, where this Kaliya serpent is hissing and it's spoiling our movement. But we should try to understand that Krishna is there. Krishna will protect, and be always conscious of Krishna. And that is the beauty of this movement. No matter how much difficulty comes in, we should keep Krishna always in the center. And all our activities should revolve around Krishna, for Krishna and for Krishna's devotees. That's how we can always keep Krishna in the center. So early in the morning of January 11th now, on the same year, 1977, Srila Prabhupada, 24-hour plus train he took from Bombay to Allahabad. So finally, after talking to Rameshwar Swami and discussing, on January 11th, Prabhupada decided to go to Kumbh Mela. So Prabhupada had left Bombay without taking breakfast, and he continued speaking for 4 hours and then asked Hari Suri to serve lunch. The other devotees left the compartment. So Rameshwar Swami also accompanied Prabhupada to Allahabad. And on the way also, they were talking and discussing that how to solve this case, because this was a very big case that happened in New York in that court. So Hari Suri, he carried all Prabhupada's paraphernalia. He carried 2 small shoulder bags, one with 3 changes of clothes and changing clothes, and other with Prabhupada's plate, bowl, the spoon, tiffin, tilak, and mirror. With these things in 2 bags, Prabhupada was traveling all over the world. So how simple living, high thinking and simple living. That was Srila Prabhupada. Although he was head of a wealthy international movement, he kept nothing for himself, and he always used to travel light. Whatever donations he collected, whatever profits came from the sale of his books, whatever properties he owned, everything was in the name of ISKCON. Nothing personally was in the name of Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada had his lunch. Hari Suri Prabhu, he served Prabhupada. And finally, after lunch, Srila Prabhupada again continued preaching. So again, Rameshwar Swami was there, and he again started asking the same question. In regard to brainwashing, Prabhupada, the people, they claim that our lifestyle tends to take the devotee and isolate him from the world. Yes, in these days also we see that, these days children, I've come across so many families where they say that their children doesn't want to follow ISKCON because they think that they will be one among those odds, That's how their feeling is, that everybody in the school, in college, and universities will be enjoying, and, they will be like some kind of odd person, not eating outside, not hanging around with their so-called friends. So it looks like as if those children are isolated from the world. So they don't want to follow Krishna conscious movement 100%. But Prabhupada said in regard to, and yes, we hate to mix with you. Yes, if you say that we isolate you, that's actually correct, because we hate to mix with so-called people. No gentleman tries to mix with loafers. Crows will not like to live with the ducks and white swans white swans doesn't like to live with the crows. So this is what we all parents should learn. If our children brings up this thing in our, to our face that, they don't want to follow because that's the thing, they feel left out, then our answer should be same as Prabhupada, that crows never like to live with ducks. We are white swans. We are not like crows, and white swans never love to live with the crows. And that is what is Sajatiya Sangha, like-minded devotees. We should always try to associate with like-minded devotees. That is the natural division. Birds of the same feather flock together. Then Rameshwar Swami again put forward, and he said, they have a list of 5 or 6 conditions, and they say if all these conditions are present, then it is suitable atmosphere for brainwashing. And they say that we are imposing those conditions on our members. And Prabhupada said, yes, we are brainwashing. Who said we are not brainwashing? We are brainwashing, but we are brainwashing from bad to good. That is our business. They are hippies. They were on roads. They were intoxicated. They were always in illicit sex and so-called prostitution. But we brought them. We brainwashed them from bad to good and made them sober person, a proper citizen to be called. And your brain was filled with meat eating, illicit sex and gambling. We are washing them. We are doing Cheto Darpana Marjanam. And Prabhupada goes, Shravantam Sakratha Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtanam, Hridyantu Sabhadrani. Yes, this Abhadrani, these bad things are there in the heart. We are washing those bad things. Don't you clean your home? Don't you clean your room? Is that brainwashing? No, that's not brainwashing. You are cleaning your room. Intelligent men wash away the garbage. They don't keep the garbage. And that is the law of civilization, to clean. And that's what we are doing. And even after that, we have been called as a brainwashing cult. We accept it wholeheartedly. Yes, we are doing brainwashing, but we are brainwashing from bad to good. We are making them civilized human beings. So Prabhupada was very hard on it. And then Rameshwaram Swami continued that, but by this is their argument that in the standard in America is that you should be learned in different fields like science, music, art, literature. And the standard of culture and education is coming from the idea of the Renaissance in Europe. But in our Hare Krishna movement, we are isolating them. We are not telling them to learn about music, science, art, and literature. We are just telling them to read one literature, and that too by Krishna, of Krishna. And Prabhupada said, this is the only culture. There is no other culture. As soon as you change, this means it is not a culture. So it is manodharma. It is a mental concoction. What the science is today, they say that this is science. Tomorrow they themselves refute on their own hypothetical condition, and they say, well, that formula doesn't work. This is no more science. Now this is science. So what is this? This is manodharma. This is simply a mental concoction that is going on. We want to stop your nonsense that is going on. That is our mission. And those who are intelligent will take it, and those who are moodas will reject it. So it's up to you. You want to take it or you don't want to take it. Then Rameshwaram raised the objection that Krishna conscious children are not prepared to go to public schools and universities. And Prabhupada said, well, that's good. They are saved. They are saved because what is happening in the schools and public schools and universities, all bogus nonsense literature is being taught. So that's good if they are refraining themselves. Then then Rameshwaram Swami said, but what if they want to change their life later? Then Prabhupada said, that's good. In beginning, let them become Krishna conscious. Let their foundation be strong in Krishna conscious. That is the perfection of life. Later, if they want to change and want to follow some or go into some school or some college, it's okay, because now they are no more uncivilized. They are not, because outside people are like cats and dogs. They become naked and they do sex on the street. But when they get this pure knowledge, the value of the education in Krishna consciousness, then their foundation is strong, right? The building rests on the strong foundation. So now, if later, if they want to go to college and universities, it's okay. Then they'll become a better human beings. Then Rameshwar Swami said, they say it's an invasion of privacy. Every man has a right to think what he wants. Then Prabhupada said, yes, therefore I have got the right to think like this and sell my books and preach my literature, preach this philosophy. Then Rameshwar Swami says, so if I do not want to hear your philosophy, why do you want to impose on me? Prabhupada said, well, it is not imposing. It's a good philosophy. We are canvassing. Take it. You will be benefited. And they are getting benefited. Those who are reading are actually getting benefited. So we are, and why you are advertising big signboards that please come and purchase. You are imposing your all nonsense on us, by giving that big billboards and big signs of all intoxications and all cigarettes. So you are imposing, we are not imposing. Why you are doing? So you are doing because people can come and purchase. So therefore we are also preaching. Those who are intelligent will take, those who are not intelligent will not take. So back and forth, this conversation in a form of a battle that went hour after hour. And Rameshwar Swami was unleashing all the arguments against the Krishna conscious movement because he was learning from Srila Prabhupada. He was taking the side so that he can learn and he can later come to New York and defend, so-called people. So Srila Prabhupada was defeating all the arguments that was put forward by Rameshwar Swami, and Rameshwar Swami was learning. And this is how Prabhupada was. Prabhupada, I should say Prabhupada is, because today, because of his books also, we are getting so much to learn, that so much we ourselves feel that we can defend Krishna conscious movement now in the public, in the group of atheist people. It's all because of Prabhupada, all because of Prabhupada. When he was there on this planet, he was teaching, and now through his books, he's teaching all of us how to become strong. So finally, Prabhupada reached Kumbh Mela, and there was a big ISKCON camp that was set, but it was set in a remote location, and there was no electric lines, and it was very difficult for people to attend program in the night because there was no light. And Prabhupada wanted prasadam distribution also. It was arranged to an extent, but not 100%. And then Prabhupada was very unhappy that the arrangements of ISKCON in Kumbh Mela was not done properly. He called on from Bhagwat Prabhu. He came and Prabhupada literally chastised him. And he told him that at least we should have lights in our camp. How will people come and hear the lecture? How will people come in the evening time? So finally, he arranged some lights. But by morning, Prabhupada, the whole night, there was no light. And Prabhupada was in that shivering cold weather, because of which he had a bad cold and a runny nose and eyes. His hands and feet were swollen, something that had happened to him during illness. When the devotees suggested that we should not stay in the camp, Prabhupada insisted, no, we wanted to preach. We came here in this Kumbh Mela to preach. People were beginning to discover his location and come to see him. So he wanted to preach. Prabhupada's position was very strong in Kumbh Mela. People know about him. So he said that Kumbh Mela was an opportunity to preach devotees, not just to merely bathe in the water of Ganga, the Triveni Sangam. That's not the motive. The motive is to preach. And Prabhupada asked the devotees to try to salvage the program by distributing as many books as possible. So he said that because of there is no light and no prasadam arrangement, no distribution of prasadam arrangement is being done. So he said, okay, now you better distribute the books. So devotees started distributing all the Hindi editions of Srila Prabhupada books. The devotees took their chanting and book distribution down to the main road, and they were amazed by the piety of the millions of pilgrims. So the atmosphere was such a pious atmosphere. Naturally, the pilgrims who were there were full of piety. So therefore, a lot of books went. And on seeing the Kirtan party approach, many people offered prostrated obeisances also. Others rolled on the ground, picked up dust where the devotees had walked and put it in their mouth. See how much they were. This is what is they got Agyat Sukriti. And although many of the pilgrims were poor, but still they came forward and dropped at least few paisa in the pot that was carried by one of the devotees in that Kumbh Mela. Anyone who gave a rupee would receive a book, and the books became so popular that people would even come and ask them by their name that, by the end of the day, they were asking that we want books. And so by the end of the day, devotees distributed about 7,000 pieces of literature of Srila Prabhupada. So January 14, Srila Prabhupada's was third day in Allahabad, and that was the first day of Kumbh Mela bathing, and would be a special opportunity for book distribution. That's what devotees thought. An ISKCON chanting party went out for about 50 men, and several Indian Gurukul boys were very well received as they traveled throughout the Mela area. At one 8:30 p.m., the time was of auspicious bathing came, and the Kirtan party made its way to Triveni Ghat to bathe. By evening, they had distributed 8,000 books, and for the first time since they have arrived, Prabhupada expressed his pleasure at their success. Why? Because Prabhupada was not happy with the arrangement that was made because of that pandal. First, it was in some remote location, and then there was no electric lines, and then there was no proper arrangement for prasadam distribution. So Prabhupada was not happy. But after getting the news that how the books are going, Prabhupada was very happy at the success. He ordered some of the sannyasis to stay at the Mela until all the books were distributed. Okay, we are already, it's already 11:48 and we are just halfway. Anyway, so prasadam distribution, word was beginning to circulate that Srila Prabhupada, who is the guru of Hare Krishna movement, was staying in the camp on Gangadweep, and more people were starting to come in and see Prabhupada. He said that the people coming to Kumbh Mela were expecting all the holy men and spiritual teachers of India to be there. So he felt obligated to stay until the 21st. That's the nature of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada always did what is to be needed to be done. And he always felt obligated because he was representing ISKCON. And Rameshwar Swami, he tried to advise Prabhupada that Prabhupada, what actually is happening with this meeting? There is nothing much important coming. People just come, have their darshan, and basically they are wasting your time. You should have written a lot of commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. You would have written a lot of books by that time, rather distributing. And we would have distributed your books rather just giving darshan to people. So he said that actually, because there is no proper arrangement for you to write books, so let's leave Allahabad. Let's go to Bhubaneswar. Anyway, your health is not good. You have become so weak. The climate here is too cold. So let's go to Bhubaneswar. There is a warm and very healthy water. So previously, Srila Prabhupada said no, but then he thought and he said that yes, even he wanted to go to Bhubaneswar because the water of Bindu Sarovar will have some medicinal properties. So he thought that, yeah, that's a good idea to go to Bhubaneswar. And finally, Prabhupada agreed to go. He called in Gurudas and Bhagavad Prabhu and gave them a final verbal chastisement for their mismanaged pandal. Thousands of guests were coming to the Hare Krishna Pandal without receiving prasadam. So Prabhupada chastised them once again that in future you should take care, don't repeat these mistakes. And then finally on 15th of January, he decided to leave. So determined that the bad example not to be repeated, Srila Prabhupada dictated a letter, not only to them, but to all the presidents of ISKCON centers. He dictated this letter. And I'll just read the letter as it is. This arrangement must be made that the cooks prepare 10 to 20 servings at a time, and not of only khichdi, but of puri, sabzi, and then you can add halwa and pakoras, and the visitors must be supplied immediately. The temple is managed by Srimati Radharani, Lakshmi ji. So why should there be any want? Our philosophy is, if anyone comes, let them take prasad, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Everything is being supplied by Krishna. Krishna is not poor. So why we should deny anyone? This should not be done at any cost. There is no difficulty. It simply requires nice management. And then Prabhupada also continues that if somehow, the prasadam is left, then the devotees should distribute among themselves. So there will be no wastage at all. But it requires nice and proper management. Finally, Prabhupada left Allahabad. He spent some days in Calcutta. Externally, he was diabetic and suffered from poor digestion as well as from general dwindling of physical powers, which is very common for a person who is 81 years of age. His condition was not suited for continual travel, hard works, frequent lectures. Yet Prabhupada was transcendental to all this so-called material condition. Sometimes he would inquire about cures, or mostly he was callous towards his poor health. So then after spending some days in Calcutta, then Prabhupada went to Bhubaneswar. So ISKCON had recently acquired a small donated plot of land outside the city, and Srila Prabhupada's Odian disciple, that is His Holiness Gaur Govind Swami, he had gone there. He had constructed 2 simple dwellings and was making plans to build a temple there. So condition on the ISKCON land in Bhubaneswar was very primitive, 2 small mud-walled huts and a thatched roof. But Srila Prabhupada, he felt perfectly at home and happy living in that primitive mud-hatched roof, and he in a secluded patch and land in the dust of Orissa. So Prabhupada was happy staying there, and because the weather was good and Prabhupada wanted, to live in that primitive area. So sitting on the outdoor Vyasasana, you can see in the picture, Prabhupada spoke to a small gathering of devotees and some local villagers. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, has 2 favorite places. One is Bengal and another is Orissa. And in Orissa, that is in Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu spent his last 18 years of his life in Gambhira. He went to Vrindavan, he went to South India, but finally he returned and he stayed with his personal associates in Jagannath Puri, with Rai Ramananda, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Sikhi Maiti, Raghunath Das Goswami. So he was with his personal associates in Jagannath Puri. Then Prabhupada spoke with Gaur Govind Swami and told him to begin advertising, arrange for proper private meetings in afternoon and a regular lecture Kirtan Prasadam program at night, so that people know about this and your temple can flourish. Bhubaneswar hot days and cool nights was just suiting Srila Prabhupada. And after resting for a few hours, he rose and began translating Srimad Bhagavatam. So it was that time when Prabhupada, he left Bombay, he went to Allahabad, but during that entire time, Prabhupada was not able to write commentaries on Bhagavatam, but now he was nearing the end of the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and Prabhupada started writing. Gaur Govind Swami Maharaj had scheduled a cornerstone laying ceremony for a new temple on Nityananda Triyodashi on February 2nd of 1977. And Prabhupada agreed that he will stay. He will stay till February 2, and then he will leave after that. After a few days, more of the people of Bhubaneswar, they started visiting Prabhupada. And one evening, this is a very beautiful conversation, that how heavy Prabhupada gets. One evening, he was speaking in the room conversation, speaking with several men, and one of them asked, well, Swamiji, actually, what is God? And Srila Prabhupada, he became so furious. He said, what is this? Are you from India? Do you don't know what is God? This is the degradation of Kali Yuga. People don't know who is God. Srila Prabhupada explained that Sri Bhagavan personally appears in our country in Bharat Varsha. He leaves his instructions, which have been accepted by many acharyas. And still you are asking, who is God? What is God? Why? So why all this has happened? It has all happened because you all are progressing towards animalistic life, animalistic civilization. You are not following the Vedic civilization. Therefore, such questions are coming out from your mouth. Anybody with a bodily conception will always thinking of his identity in relation to one's family, one's race, one's country, which is no better than cow and ass, according to Vedic Shastras. He repeatedly warned that, you should not ask such questions. And then somebody asked in that same assembly, oh, what is the meaning of word Krishna? And again, Prabhupada said, so heavy. He got really heavy. He said, you don't know the meaning of Krishna. But then Prabhupada very politely explained that Krishna means Krish Karshati, means he who is all attractive. Krishna means one who is all attractive. So since arriving in Bhubaneswar, Srila Prabhupada had several times, talked of going to Jagannath Puri, and which was around an hour away. But he had not been to Puri since 1958, because his Western disciples were not allowed to enter the Jagannath temple. So Prabhupada also decided not to enter either. But he would go to Puri, and he wanted to go to Puri at that time and see what the land is available so that he can build a temple or a center there. Then Prabhupada said, as long as the body will be there, there will be so many troubles. Krishna has advised that they will come and go. don't care for it. Agama paino nityastam statikshvasa bharata. We should always try to tolerate such impediments. Impediments will come. What can be done? We have to tolerate. And this is not possible. Krishna, we cannot expect smooth and happy life always. This is not possible. Krishna has advised Arjuna also what to speak of us. Krishna never says, oh Arjuna, something magic will happen. Somebody will fight against you. Just have to sit. No, now you have to suffer. He never gave Arjuna any tablet and said that, okay, you eat this and magic will happen. No, you have to tolerate. You have to tolerate and you have to fight. The Srila Prabhupada had a wonderful pastime with his disciples on the beach in the Bhubaneswar. And then Prabhupada took actually, it's been described in the chapter that how Prabhupada took oil massage and then he went to the beach with his disciples. They bathed for around 15-20 minutes and Prabhupada's body was shining in that sunlight, because he recently took this mustard oil massage. So, well, that's just the description that was given. But Prabhupada, had a wonderful pastime with all his disciples on the beach, and they all were carried away by the ecstatic feelings of Srila Prabhupada. Then finally in the afternoon, Seva Siva Rath, the Prabhu, he came to see Prabhupada and gave Prabhupada, some Jagannath Prasadam and sang Jagannath Ashtakam also. And in silent appreciation, Prabhupada listened to the Brahmanas singing this famous Jagannath Ashtakam, Jagannatha Swami Nayana Pathagami Bhavatume. So when the two Brahmanas finished singing, Prabhupada asked, so these European and American Vaishnavas, they are hankering after Jagannath Swami Nayana Pathagami Bhavatume. So now it is through our intervention that they may be able to see Jagannath Swami. They are hankering like that. Everybody wants to see. Then Seva Sivrat Prabhu said that he expressed his sympathy that how the devotees of West, they were not allowed to enter Jagannath temple. And he said that, he has written some book and he wanted to invite Prabhupada to inaugurate his book at that function in that evening. And he said that, Prabhupada, please come and address the Puri's Brahmanas about this book. But Prabhupada said, he promised that, he'll come. And that evening, Prabhupada went. He was a special guest of honor. And his disciples also accompanied him along the stage. But as soon as Prabhupada took the seat, Kirtan ended. And one of the managers of the Jagannath temple came forward. He garlanded Srila Prabhupada. Then Seva Siva Rath then announced that we thank A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who has been so kind enough to grace this occasion. And suddenly what happened? And to pay respect to the homage to His Holiness Jagannath Das Goswami. Now, this Jagannath Das Goswami is not the Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj from our parampara, but he was some contemporary of Lord Chaitanya. So, Prabhupada, they said that now Prabhupada will speak about him. But Prabhupada, instead of speaking about Jagannath Das Goswami, he wanted to speak about Jagannath. He said that, how, everybody should be allowed to enter. He is not the Odeon Jagannath or some Puri Jagannath. He is Jagannath. He is not some Odiyanath or Purinath. He is Jagannath. So he had a special message in his mind. And finally, Prabhupada told them to open the doors of Jagannath Puri Dham to everybody. And you will be very pleased to know, he said, that in 1967, Prabhupada introduced Rath Yatra. So Prabhupada is addressing those people in that pandal, in that assembly. And he told them that how in 1967, he introduced Rath Yatra, the first Rath Yatra in San Francisco. And it's been continuously going on for 10 years. Western countries, Rath Yatra is being introduced one after another, because after that, Prabhupada started in New York, then in Philadelphia area. So the Rath Yatra was going and was increasing in every state. So people would come in your Jagannath Puri also from all parts of the world, and that is going to give you benefit, both monetary wise also. And so it will become a tourist program. Government will also get benefit. Some people are attracted to see Jagannath Puri, Jagannath Swami. That is good. But unfortunately, you people are not allowing them. So how can this be adjusted? So Jagannath mercy should spread far and wide. So you cannot create any impediment in, distributing the mercy of Jagannath. He is Jagannath. He is not some Purinath or Uriyanath. He is Jagannath. Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita how he is Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. So what is the meaning of Sarvaloka Maheshwaram? Means that everybody, he is a Sarvaloka. Everybody has adhikar to have his darshan. Right? So then he said about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, that even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said that Prithvi Yate Nagar Adigram Sarvatra Prachar Hobe Moranam, that every place should be filled with my holy name. So when they come here, you all restrain them. You don't allow to enter them. What is the cause? This is not very good. You should not receive Vaishnava like this. This is not a proper reception. So Prabhupada said, this is my request. So everybody should be allowed, and you all should make an endeavor to remove such kind of restriction that is being laid by some Jagannath Pandas, that the Western bodies people will not be allowed. Actually, Jagannath Dham, everybody should be allowed. It's a bhakti cult for the benefit of the whole world. Then Srila Prabhupada walked off across the sands in the dark, followed by the disciples, and entered a nearby Gaudiya Math, where the devotees held Kirtan. They went to another Gaudiya Math temple, Purushottam Math, and again held Kirtan. So though Prabhupada said all this, but people, they turned their deaf ears to what Prabhupada said. So during the chanting of Purushottam Math, Prabhupada sat in the chair. When he was ready to leave, he began to stand, using his cane as a support, but suddenly, he was about halfway and he dropped down. But Harisuri luckily was there. Harisuri Prabhu was there. He lifted him by his feet, to his feet by holding him under the arms. And Prabhupada said nothing, but just walked. And this shows that Prabhupada was very weak, very weak. It was another sign of Prabhupada's ill health, and very quickly it was dwindling away. So Prabhupada became very weak at that time through the body, but through his spirits, he was very, very strong. And then the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Shri Ganesh of writing of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam happened. So in Bhubaneswar, just before 3 a.m., early in the morning on January 30th, Srila Prabhupada began dictating the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. He was all by himself in the room. And one of his servants in the next room heard through the wall and became so excited that he awakened all the other devotees. And Prabhupada started narrating the first chapter, which was 69 verses it has. He begins describing how Maharaj Parikshit's eagerness to learn about the incarnation of Lord Krishna. And it also tells how Kamsa killed the 6 sons of Devaki because of his fear of being killed by the 8th child of Devaki. So the second chapter contains 42 verses, and this way Prabhupada, gave the description, the summary of all the 90 chapters in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam through his dictation. Not verse by verse, but just you must have seen that in Bhagavatam, there is a summary given before every chapter. So Prabhupada gave the entire summary of all those 90 chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto. So at that time, simply by chanting or repeating Krishna Katha, Prabhupada was saying one is liberated from the contamination of Kali Yuga. This is the mission of Krishna consciousness. So such a strong point that simply by chanting and repeating Krishna Katha, one is liberated from the contamination of Kali Yuga. So we should always engage our time in Krishna Katha. And whatever it is, we should try to hear, we should try to repeat, we should try to read Prabhupada books. See, right in 3 a.m. Prabhupada was writing with such a health condition. And we can give n number of excuses of not able to read Srimad Prabhupada books. So we are not doing justice to what Prabhupada wrote. So we should try, because in one of the instances, Prabhupada in this chapter also mentions that his ill health is because of his disciples not following the 4 regulative principles and not following his instructions. So this was also a very strong point made by Prabhupada. that how his ill health is because of his disciples. Anyway, then Prabhupada later in the evening, later on the morning walk, then all the devotees gathered. Then Prabhupada, they all said that Prabhupada, we are planning to write it on some plate that on January 30th at 2:50 a.m., Prabhupada began the 10th canto. And Prabhupada was surprised to hear that how come you all know that I started writing the commentary on 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then Srila Prabhupada said, well, Krishna's flute can be heard in the 10th canto because we have a beautiful Venugeet chapter in 10th canto. And the chapters, Prabhupada said that 29 to 34, which is a Rasa Panchadhyaya, that is actually the smiling face of Krishna. That is the heartbeat of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, the Rasa Panchadhyaya. Then again, there was some GBC meeting. Satswarup Das Goswami came, and he recently replaced Rameshwar Swami as Prabhupada's secretary for the month. So now Rameshwar Swami, instead of Rameshwar Swami, Satswarup Das Goswami was now the secretary for Prabhupada for next month. Prabhupada referred to him about the upcoming New York case. Then Prabhupada said that the best way to win that case is to tell them to read our books. He said the judge should read, all the lawyers, the prosecutor lawyers, they should read our books. This is our statement. Our defense is that you first read our books and then give your statement whether we are really brainwashing or not. Give them all 84 books, Prabhupada said. Let them read. And then Prabhupada quotes actually that in Calcutta, there was some case going on. And in that case, there was one prosecutor lawyer who came and he brought so many books with him just as an evidence. And the judge, he said, why you brought this entire, it looks like you have brought the entire library here. And that lawyer said, of course I have to, because I have to teach you law. You don't know, so I have to give you the reference. So that's why I brought the whole library here. And Prabhupada said we should follow in his footsteps. All 84 books should be presented. You'd never know from which line, from which book, from which chapter we have to defend our case. So he said that, everybody should read my books. Everybody, they should first read the books and then they should give their so-called judgment. He said, bring all these books in the court, Prabhupada said. If the judge objected and said, why you have brought so many books to bother me, the devotees should reply, you have to hear it. It may take 12 years to hear, but you have to hear. This is the law. It sounded difficult, but the devotees knew that they would have to give it a try because it's coming out from Prabhupada's words, from Prabhupada's lotus mouth. And he has a specific instruction for handling the case. Then they said, we have to say, said Prabhupada, we never tried to brainwash. We have done exactly according to Shastra authority. Here is the evidence. We have not manufactured anything. So Prabhupada, though he was okay with the term brainwashing, but every time that was pinching him when he said that actually we have not brainwashed them. We have actually made them proper civilized person to live in this civilized world. So we have not manufactured. Whatever we are doing it according to the Shastras. So they must first read all the books. And then he said, I think you should take defense in that way. So this way, Prabhupada was always guiding them because this case was really on the heart of Prabhupada because he was assured that the result will be in his favor, but still till the time the result is not out, Prabhupada was really concerned. And he gave them tips, that how you can defend your case. And finally, Prabhupada went to Mayapur in February 1977. After Nityananda Triyodashi for Gaur Purnima. And then more than 80 Bengali Gurukul boys came under 100 other devotees, greeted Prabhupada with a kirtan in the front gate of Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir. The new building, a long residential building, was almost completed. Back to home, back to Godhead. And Prabhupada said softly as his car entered the gate and slowly proceeded towards the temple. Srila Prabhupada complimented the devotees for making the ground so beautiful and clean. Hundreds of flowers decorated his room like a gorgeous garden. See how beautifully they welcomed Srila Prabhupada. And these flowers are your first success, said Srila Prabhupada. So if we do anything for Krishna's service, Krishna acknowledges, and so his pure devotees. He said, you submit some plan, and he's very glad. We want some flowers for Krishna's service, and Krishna is supplying. Everything we want for Krishna, not for our sense gratification. For Krishna, we can endeavor hard, we can multifariously, we can, and that is the contribution of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Those who are the devotees should all be given all facilities, not some extravagancy, some luxury, but at least nice food, nice place, nice facilities. Chant Hare Krishna, and this is our mission. And later, Srila Prabhupada went to oversee the new building, the longest building in West Bengal, and His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj said that more than 700 feet. Srila Prabhupada said it looked like a train. He inspected all the rooms one by one and emphasized that they must be ready in time for the upcoming festival, that is Gaur Purnima. And Prabhupada said, well, it looks like to me I've entered in the New York City in the 5th Avenue. So a few days after the arrival, Srila Prabhupada journeyed by the car and ferry to Navadvip to visit the ashram of his godbrother Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. But while walking up the 3 steps, Prabhupada again, his legs fibbled, and suddenly he gave up and he collapsed. Fortunately, again, Harisuri Prabhu was there close enough, and it was the second time that Prabhupada had collapsed, once in Bhubaneswar and now here in Mayapur. In less than 2 weeks, these 2 collapses happened, and both the time he was actively preaching. And Harisuri, who had been with Prabhupada continually for 18 months, felt that Srila Prabhupada's health is not likely to get improved. So one morning, just after breakfast, Prabhupada was on his veranda, looking out across the land of Mayapur. Turning to Harisuri, he said, actually, it doesn't matter if I die immediately. I have given you everything. I have given you the entire basis of Krishna consciousness. Now, if you simply manage things, follow my instructions, follow whatever programs I have laid down, if you do it, everything will be successful. Harisuri was disturbed to hear such statements, and he remained speechless. But then Prabhupada said, but I want to live. Why? Because I want to finish the commentary of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada then stayed at ISKCON Mayapur, and it was very quiet stay. After the GBC men began arriving from the West, he heard the latest news of the fierce opposition of Krishna consciousness in America. Tamal Krishna Goswami and Brahmananda Swami, they came from New York. They reported the case of brainwashing, and which Adi Keshav Swami has been charged with mind control, would be heard later in March. So they said that case, the decision now will be given in March. So, but they allowed Adi Keshav Swami to come and meet Srila Prabhupada. So Adi Keshav Swami also came with Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Brahmananda Swami from New York, because he was allowed to meet Srila Prabhupada, so he also came. And but they said that the result of the case will be announced in March. Finally, a few days later, Adi Keshav Swami also came in Mayapur to see Srila Prabhupada, and at that time he was just a boy of 23 years old, and he had a great strain upon him. Against the lawyers, he has come to India in desperation just to meet and to see Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said the devotees should consult among themselves, write an essay and send it to the court. His main point was that most people could not understand the simple truth of the soul. They are in need of knowledge, and the Krishna conscious movement is providing all that knowledge, that you are not the body, you are actually soul. Therefore, it is a brain-giving movement, not the brain-washing movement. If a man doesn't know the difference between a dead man and a living man, he doesn't know the soul. Then he has no brain. So we are just giving brain. We are giving you the right knowledge. So it's a brain giving movement. And in Prabhupada's association, Adi Keshav gained strength and conviction. They complained, said Adi Keshav, that if one becomes a devotee, he suffers from a loss of identity. But actually they don't know who they are. So we will challenge them like that. What is the loss of identity? You don't know who you are, so you have nothing to lose. And this way, Prabhupada consoles them and said that Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj said that actually parents have hired some deprogrammers also, because everyone naturally feels that, they are sympathetic towards fathers and mothers, so they hired deprogrammers. So then Prabhupada said, why don't you quote from Shastra that actually the real father is one who gives their child Krishna consciousness. That's not the real father, just that you are hiring some deprogrammers and you are stopping your children to go to or to accept Hare Krishna movement. That's not the real father or mother. And then Prabhupada quotes, that verse, Guru na sasyat, Swajano na sasyat, Pita na sasyat, Janani na sasyat, Daivam na sasyat, na Pitas na sasyat, Namo chiyat yat samute martam. That if one cannot deliver his dependence from the path of repeated birth and death, then one should never become a spiritual master, a father, a mother, or a husband, or even a worshipable demigod. So ultimately, everybody should be delivered from this cycle of birth and death. That is the real father. And Srila Prabhupada immortalized the very same arguments that Prabhupada had spoken to the sannyasis in the Bhaktivedanta purport in the 10th canto. So all these instructions Prabhupada wrote in 10th canto also, because he was writing commentary of the 10th canto, that how he was in that case and what all instructions he gave. So everything is mentioned in the 10th canto, because Prabhupada said maybe these conversations may not be documented, but at least people who will read 10th canto will come to know that how much struggle we all went through. Then on Gaur Purnima, auspicious day, Srila Prabhupada accepted more than 200 disciples for his first initiations, and he awarded second initiation to 100 disciples. And then the news came. The news of the New York court decision appeared on the front page of the Times of India. And on receiving it, Tamal Krishna Goswami immediately brought a copy of Prabhupada in his room. And at Prabhupada's request, he read it aloud. Hare Krishna movement is a bona fide religion. And then Prabhupada said, now my mission is all successful. That's what Srila Prabhupada said. So New York's judge, he rules Hare Krishna movement to be a bona fide religion. So it was a great success for Prabhupada, and he said, now my mission is successful. After getting this news, Prabhupada came back to Bombay. He drove, as they drove to the entrance of Hare Krishna land in Mumbai, Prabhupada saw those big towers. He wanted again, to move Radha Ras Vihari from that little shed. And Prabhupada came there, and he again promised, he said, I will build you a beautiful temple. Then Prabhupada was, the work crews were moving quickly, concentrating especially on Prabhupada quarters on the top floor in one of the hotel towers. But at that time it was not ready, so they all told Prabhupada to go and stay for 1 week to one of the couple's home. I'm forgetting the name. Medho Seva, I'm forgetting the name, but he wanted to stay there. The devotees wanted Prabhupada to stay there, but Prabhupada then called to this Surabhi Swami, and he said, why my quarters are not ready? Prabhupada asked from his car window. Running to catch up Surabhi Maharaj explained that he needed few more days and that Srila Prabhupada could please stay in some old apartments in the meantime. You do what I say, shouted Prabhupada. The car stopped. If I don't go there now, Prabhupada said, still speaking loudly, it will be finished. I want to go now. Srila Prabhupada felt this time was limited, that his time was limited, and he was not insistent, and his disciples would bring more and more delays. So he said, no matter what, I want to go now. I want to see my room. And it was on the 6th floor. And people and other devotees carried Prabhupada on palanquin. Prabhupada was very particular. And there was entire mess there in that on that floor. And there was no table, no furniture, nothing was there. So immediately they washed a corner of that room and they placed a neat and clean cloth, and Prabhupada sat there. And they did Guru Puja. And, Prabhupada was very happy. And but Prabhupada said that I want you to complete it as soon as possible. But then Prabhupada moved to one of the devotees' home. Ever since Prabhupada's extreme weakness of health had occurred in Mayapur, he would sit for hours alone and silent. Each night, Prabhupada had a different devotee read a verse and purport. Leading disciples like His Holiness Hridayananda Goswami, Giriraj Swami would lecture and Prabhupada would speak afterward. He continued stressing India's real message to the world. Srila Prabhupada was ready to move into his new ready quarters at the Hare Krishna land. As Srila Prabhupada enters his beautiful quarters at Hare Krishna land, he remarked that no one could outdo Surabhi Swami. I think I haven't such a place to live anywhere in the world, he said. So finally, Prabhupada was moved. And seeing that one large room now, which was well furnished, Prabhupada remembered his room in Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. In one corner, he said, I was writing. In another corner, I was sitting. In another corner, I'm taking prasadam. The comparison was odd because Radha Damodar room was very small and here the room was very big. But Prabhupada still remembered his beginning days in Vrindavan. And he took prasadam, he wrote books and ambitiously planned for spreading Krishna consciousness. Oh my God, so many slides. Okay, 3 more slides to go. It's already 12:23. So anyways, I'll just cut down to all these slides. I'll not discuss more on it. So what Prabhupada said that actually he stayed there in Bombay, and there, so many disciples were serving Srila Prabhupada, and one of the disciples, his name was Kirchor Gopinath Prabhu, and he was at that time the personal cook for Srila Prabhupada. And one day what happened, that Prabhupada asked for the orange juice, and this Prabhu, Kirchor Gopinath Prabhu, was, at that time there were no fresh oranges. So he ordered someone to bring fresh oranges, and Prabhupada was ringing the bell, that I want orange juice, I want orange juice. And then finally the oranges came, he squeezed the orange, he made that fresh juice, and then Prabhupada was keeping the finger on his bell continuously. And finally this Prabhu, he brought the orange juice, and Prabhupada said, now I don't want. Why you were so late in bringing orange juice? I've been asking for so long, just take it away, I don't want. But this Prabhu was standing very humbly, standing in front of Prabhupada, and Prabhupada just took the orange juice and he drank it. But then Prabhupada apologized. He said, I'm old man, I have so many things going on, and when people get old, they become some kind of fussy. So I'm sorry, if you feel bad about it. So this Prabhu started crying, and he said, if you will not correct me, then Prabhupada, I have no other shelter. So you are the one who is helping me, and you are my only shelter. So this way, he said. Now, I would just like to ask, I don't know how many of you are still awake listening to this entire pastime. Does anyone know who this Kirchor Gopinath Prabhu is?
Bhakti Swami Maharaj.
Krishna. Yes, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami, who was actually named as Kirchor Gopinath. So anyway, they all performed Guru Aarti, and Srila Prabhupada was very happy. And then Srila Prabhupada explained them the meaning of Guru Aarti, Guru Puja. And he said that how when we say Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashita, so this is Divya Gyan. What Divya Gyan? To know about the knowledge. Who are we? Who is Krishna? What are my activities that I should do to strengthen my relationship with Krishna? This is all Divya Gyan, and that comes from Guru. So Prabhupada, he quoted that and he explained them. Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashita. And then finally, Prabhupada, he stayed in his room during the day, and he would move from one desk to another, either to dictate Bhagavatam, to take prasadam, or to speak to guests. And finally, he had a very little appetite at that time. He could not eat anything heavy. And sometimes he had no appetite even for a cup of milk. And Giriraj Swami, who was the temple president at that time in Bombay, during the years of struggle, he long looked forward at the time Prabhupada would be giving some majestic quarters and receiving the world leaders. Now that the gorgeous ISKCON center has become a reality, Giriraj couldn't stand the idea of Prabhupada remaining in solitude, because at that time Prabhupada's health was not good. So when he had asked Prabhupada if he could bring some important guests, Prabhupada, though he agreed, but his health was not in a good shape. And it was May time, Bombay was very hot. Soon the monsoons would come. And so he decided that I'll go to Kashmir because the weather will be good, the air will be good, the water will be good. And his main thing was that now, since the temple for Radha Ras Bihari has already been constructed properly and it's a great success, so now I can focus, leaving aside all the management issues, now I can focus on the commentary on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. But then, there was one devotee whose name was Sriman Narayan, who was the former governor of Gujarat. He came and he said, you should take care of health. I hope you get better. So Prabhupada said, well, this is just an old machine. The more you cure it, the more it gets worse. But my work never stops. I will keep on going. My main work is to write these books. So see how much emphasis Prabhupada gave in writing these books. So he said, I have good places. He said that Sriman Narayan, he said that either go to Srinagar, Kashmir, Dehradun, Mussoorie, Shimla, or Haridwar. Then, yes, water in Haridwar is good, said Sriman Narayan. But better would be that you go to Rishikesh, where the Ganga flows. So whatever places are on the banks of Ganga, the water will be very good, pure Ganga water. And Srila Prabhupada took these remarks very seriously. And then he turned to his disciples. He said, yes, now we all can go to Rishikesh. And the time is very good. Now it's May time. And let's all arrange for that. And from that moment, going to Rishikesh became a definite plan. And Prabhupada prepared to leave Bombay within a week to head to Rishikesh. So we'll stop here. Thank you all so much. I know I took 1.5 hours. But trust me, whatever is there in the slide is just 10%. We have omitted all the conversations because every word in this chapter was so good. How Prabhupada refuted how the theory of all those atheists and how the conversation went back and forth with various disciples of Prabhupada. We have to omit because this chapter was pretty long, but the essence is that we should chant and we should fight. We should not think that Krishna will there and he'll protect. Yes, Krishna will protect, definitely. After all, he is the ultimate cause of everything. But the point is that our endeavor should be equally important, is equally important. So thank you all so much. We'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada book distribution ki jai.
Chant and fight ki jai.
Chant and fight ki jai. Okay, I don't think so. We have any scope of any questions as such, but yes, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, she is the one who was after me to cover this longest chapter. I don't know why she gave me the longest chapter to cover. But thank you, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, for engaging me in the service of Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Mataji, for accepting it. I know it is a long chapter. All the chapters are very long, Mataji. Only few chapters are smaller, but they are very long. Yeah, Mataji, so hard to read that many pages. But thank you so much for accepting and coming on the call and giving such a beautiful class. Very, very nice. I really don't know that Sistashtakam Prabhu means Bhakti Swami Maharaj. Today,
Kirtida Gopinath.
Sorry, Kirchor, sorry.
Kirtida Gopinath.
I forgot. Kirchor means, I was thinking, who is Kirchor? Kirchor, such a pretty name, right? Kirchor is very, very nice.
Kirchor Gopinath. Actually, Kirchor Gopinath is the one for why he's a Gopinath in Ramuna, right?
Yeah, Ramuna.
Right.
Yeah, we have that story
Pastime of Madhavendra Puri.
Yeah, small kids book is also there. We have that small kids book.
So actually, Guru Maharaj was named. His name was Kamala Kishore. His legal name was Kamala Kishore. But then for his first initiation, he got the name Kirchor Gopinath.
Oh, then for sannyasi, they will change again.
Yes, normally Prabhupada never changed. Normally Prabhupada, like he gave Tamal Krishna, so after sannyas he added just Tamal Krishna Goswami, Giriraj, and he added Giriraj Swami. But for Guru Maharaj, he gave the name first Kichor Gopinath, but then during the sannyas initiation he gave his Holiness Bhakti Charans.
Wow, very nice. Mataji. Nice to hear. I never heard about it. Thank you, Mataji, for such a beautiful class. Very nice. Each and everything that you have shared, Mataji. When we are hearing, we want to keep hear about Srila Prabhupada.
So much hardships he went through. But how fixed he was. That's the only thing that I, always get whenever I read about Srila Prabhupada, that how much ever the impediments may come and go, but Prabhupada was fixed. He was fixed in his determination. He was fixed in his faith towards Srila Krishna, and Krishna will protect. So how much fixed? That's the sign of a steady devotee. He was so steady.
Thank you, Lalitangi Mataji, for the chat messages, and Shivani Mataji, thank you so much. Thank you for joining. Yeah, Mataji, I really like that pastime that you are sharing, that when Srila Prabhupada was writing 10th canto, the flute sound that he was saying, that means it's his feeling that it's Krishna. It's not just a book, it's Krishna. That's very, very nice, Mataji. Touching. Yeah, Priti Mataji, please speak, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Kirtida Sundari Mataji. Thank you so much. I couldn't take my ears off at all. It was a heavily impactful, the entire class that you did. Thank you so much. In spite of not keeping good health, you came and you spoke non-stop for hours. That's really the Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much. I really liked a few things, of course, how the case was pending and how it came in favor of ISKCON, because next chapter is my turn, and there are some connections to this chapter as well. So now a lot of it makes sense why the next chapter has certain pastimes. I didn't know why it had, but now that I heard from you, I'm able to place everything in order now. So thank you so much for this. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. And all glories to Indulekha Mataji, that even she was not well because of her job also. Still, I think so, last night at 11 o'clock, she texted me and he said, here is your slides. Here are your slides. Here is your presentation. And morning, I got a chance to just go through that presentation.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Indulekha.
So nice, Mataji, that Indu
It was a team. Today's class was a teamwork.
And Indu Mataji did previous chapter, and which helped her to make this chapter presentation. And then now you did this chapter, and Priti Mataji is saying it is good for her for the next chapter. So very, all three of you lined up in one slot. I was so happy. Thank you, Mataji.
I should say that today's credit is all to Indulekha Mataji. It was hard for her also. Even she
It's just Srila Prabhupada Mataji. He got all of us in service. I should say thank you so much.
She was saying, oh my God, this chapter is never ending. Because every line is important. You cannot omit. But I don't know how she did it. She really did a good job. So thank you so much, Indulekha Mataji.
And that we have to again, so combined effort, right? We have to pull in Vinita Mataji because she sent that slide, the summary.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she sent that slide summary also. I have not even gone through that, but thank you all of you.
Thank you, Mataji. So if there are no more realization, we can close.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Garanga. Mataji is such a wonderful class, and which way you narrated and you just read all the things and you told how our Prabhupada was. So it was such a nice class, and whatever Mataji says about the flute, same thing it was, touch in my head to same thing. And the other thing, just whatever Prabhupada, one devotee asked, what we should do our kids in this presence moment when they say, no, we are not want to the Krishna consciousness. Sorry, Mataji.
Hmm.
So at that time we have to say we should look like a crow, not crow, but a swan. And swan doesn't like to just stay with the crows. So we should do same thing. You have to be do the song of devotees instead of the material people. So I like that one point, Mataji, so much too.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Yashimati Mataji, even I like that point. And that, I don't know if you can compare with that honeybee goes only to honey, but then houseflies you can find anywhere. We can also say that to the children, you know.
Yeah, these are the arguments we
Sorry,
can
Mataji, in ISKCON Desire, we were doing it for Govinda class. In that class, it said like one person has a habit of smoking or drinking alcohol, and then the good person says, oh, if you drink you will go to hell. Then he'll say, you know, my father drinks, my like everybody's then everybody will go, what is the problem, like that, you know.
Yeah, that's what they said. We'll enjoy in hell because my whole family, my whole friends will be there. So we'll enjoy in hell. This is all stupidity, seriously.
Yes, okay. Okay, it's already 11:38, so I'll close the call here. I would like to offer my obeisances to Kirtida Mataji and all the devotees assembled on the call. Vanchakalpatarobhyasya kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti vaishnavebhyo ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Kirtida Mataji ki
Sundari
jai.
Mataji
Hare Krishna.
Mataji,
Assembled
Hare
devotees ki
Krishna.
jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Vilasni Mataji.